Okay, so today's like day 2 of the unit circle. We got another day left after this. These are really the basic building blocks of trigonometry. So I want to pick up where we left off because you have to know how to do this, okay? So I'm going to do 210 right now, okay? And I'm just going to do it on blank spots. You can do it over the side, wherever you want. But suppose I said you have 210 degrees, and we would like to know the coordinate on the unit circle that that angle passes through. So you should be able to do this and not just memorize it. You should be able to draw this figure and be able to come up with this. If I draw my coordinate plane and I have 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees, if I draw 210, how many degrees past 180 am I? If I draw 210, how many degrees past 180? 30. So this measure right here is 210 degrees. And so I would be 30 degrees past 180. That will form a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So if I want to find that exact XY coordinate, what I have to do is then solve that triangle. The way I solve the triangles, I first identify that the radius has what length? We're in the unit circle. 1. Radius is always 1 in the unit circle. So if the radius is 1, what's the shortest length? A half. And I multiply that by what to get the other side? Square root of 3. So square root of 3 over 2. So I therefore have a coordinate of negative square root of 3 over 2 would be my x, and negative 1/2 would be my y. Do you know how to do that now? Okay, then I'm going to give you one, and I want you to try it on your own. You ready? I want you to try this one on your own. Don't look at your cheat sheet. Just try to see what is the XY coordinate that 120 degrees passes through. You have to, like, this is a must. This is one of the fundamental building blocks of trigonometry. You've got to be able to find where that crosses, okay? So draw it out, see if you can get it. Okay, try not to look at your cheat sheet. Try just do it just like I did, okay? Go. Okay, that's the shape you should have drawn. That's the coordinate you should have got. If you can't do that, you got to come see me. We got to figure that out. That is one of the basic building blocks we have to go through. Okay? So, with that, let's fill out the rest of it. You could do that for every single problem, and you would come up with the rest of the pieces. I'll fill out from 180 on because that's what we were doing. 180, we said that you have a coordinate of -1, 0. Then we said that both of the xy values are negative because you're in the third quadrant. So you should have negative square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2, negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2, negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2, and then 0, negative 1. So those are your third quadrant values all the way down to 270 along the y-axis. And then we start to turn the corner. Then the x turns to positive. The y is still negative. And we end back at 1, 0. So the first question is, could you produce any of the values on the unit circle if you were asked to? Hopefully you can. The more you can keep that in your brain right up here, the better off you're going to be. Okay? All right. Ready for a change of pace? Do something different. Okay? Well, not really that much different, but flip to the back, front, here we go. We will try now 30 degrees again. So if you already have this marked down, that's fine. Okay. All right. If I go over to, say, France, and somebody asks me what my height is, do you think I say 5 feet 8 inches? What do I say? I measure in meters. Sometimes there's different ways to measure different things. Sometimes the conversion is actually about the same. For example, like in here, we have feet and we have, miles. There's times where you like to measure stuff in miles, and sometimes you like to measure things in feet, right? Sometimes miles isn't even sufficient. Sometimes you need to use light years. Well, that's absurd. Imagine if you were to measure something in light years and transfer it to feet. That would be just too big of a number, right? In mathematics, it sometimes works the same ways. These angles right here, 0 degrees, 30, 45, 60, and 90, those are angles that we're very concerned about, and we don't like to always measure them the way that you're used to in degrees. We like to use something different, and we call those radians. Now, you may say to yourself, I like feet. I don't like meters. That's fine. You may not say, I like degrees. I don't like radians. You can ask Ina. They need to love radians, don't they? Need to learn to embrace it. You gotta love radians because you're going to use it all the time. They still are, okay? So we gotta love radians. What is a radian? I will tell you exactly what a radian is. A radian is not the same thing as looking at this angle. A radian is the measure of how much of this arc of the unit circle the angle cuts off. For example, we're in the unit circle. Do you know what do you know how we figure out what's the distance around a circle called? Circumference. And the formula is circumference equals what? 2 pi r. So you tell me, what is our radius? 1. So what's the circumference of the circle? 2 pi. So think with me here. We have 0 degrees, and then once around is 360 degrees, right? So if we cut off 0, that will be the same as 0 radians. Well, let's say I draw an angle where I go all the way around. What's the distance all the way around a circle? 360 degrees. Well, what's the distance in terms of circumference? 2 pi. So 2 pi is the same measure as 360 degrees. 2 pi you could think of as like a metric measurement, and 360 you could think of as like a standard measurement. These are conversions we have to have. So if this is 180 over here, anybody know what that's going to be? In radians? 1 pi. If this is 90 degrees, it's going to be a half of a pi. How about 30? How many times does 30 go into 180? 1/6, right? 30 is 1/6 of 180. So 30 is going to be 1/6 pi, or pi over 6. So this length right here that I measure in blue on the unit circle, that arc length right there would be exactly pi over 6 units. And that is the same as 30 degrees. We have to be able to transfer back and forth. Let's see if we can figure these out. So we said 0 degrees is the same as 0 radians. And the way that we mark degrees is, you have that little degree symbol up, right? For radians, we don't put a degree symbol. It's just, whatever decimal or in terms of pi. Radians don't always have to be expressed in terms of pi. For example, 330 degrees is pi over 6. If you were to take pi on your calculator and divide it by 6, you would come out with approximately 0.51. 45. How many times does 45 go into 180? 4. So that would be pi over 4, which is approximately 0.79. So I want you to understand that there's a decimal form to these as well. Pi over 4, same thing as 0.79, same as 45 degrees. So how many times 60 go into 180? 3. So you have pi over 3, which is approximately 1.07. Should probably more like 1.05. Doesn't matter. 90 degrees, pi over 2. It's approximately 1.57. I'm going to stop writing the decimal. You get the idea that you can divide those and get a decimal. 120 over 180. What would that fraction reduce to? 120 over 180. 2/3. So 2 pi over 3. I'll show you how to do it on your calculator because I'm going to have you guys fill out most of this chart the rest of the way on your own. If you don't know how to convert, and you're going to have a quiz probably next week Tuesday, and you will not be able to use your calculator on it, you're either going to have to reduce by hand or you have to memorize it. These values you have to quickly reference. Now, people second hour are like, why do we have to quickly reference them? Because in class, I'm not going to pause to show you how I got pi over 3 from 60 degrees. We need to know that. You need to have it up here. So if you want to keep up with the rest of trig where we're going, you have to know these, and you'll be pretty good at it. You'll get pretty good at it. So if you don't know how to do it and you want to figure it out, you want to reduce 135 over 180. I know it's 3 pi over 4. If you want to check, you can go 135 divided by 180, and then just go math, convert to fraction, and it will put it in lowest form for you. I don't put the pi on there, I just attach that on the end. So again, we have 3 pi over 4. They all divide by 30, 60, or 45. So how about 150 over 180? 5 over 6, good. 5 pi over 6. 180 over 180? Pi. See if you can reduce the rest of these. Hopefully either do it by hand or in your brain, or if you have to, use your calculator. Go from 210 all the way up to 360. Okay? I want you quick to see if you can fill that out. I'll work a little bit behind you. This sheet, you need to start memorizing this weekend. You have a short assignment, and you need to start looking over this. Did you guys like your game? Yeah, of course you had fun. We'll play it again on Monday right away. Now, I want you guys to know that this sheet, wait a minute, where are we? Right here. This conversion, first of all, you should know all of these points, these coordinates. You should be able to generate them all. You don't have to memorize the coordinates, but this transition process, Kelly's putting up, on the clock right now. She cut out 8 of them. Did you? Or 5 or whatever. And she's putting them up there, kind of as a remembrance. Okay, on the clock so you can, see what's happening. But, yeah, but that, don't expect those questions on the test. I mean, those are kind of easy. So, well, my point is that you got to be able to convert quickly. And it's just a matter of, I know you guys memorize a lot of vocabulary in Spanish, don't you? You can memorize a dozen or so vocab pieces here, okay? Now, again, the best thing is to not have to memorize them, but to be able to do the conversion process. So if somebody says 60, yeah, I say pi over 3. I don't even think of the conversion. But if somebody says 120, well, actually, I just double the 60, right? 120 is double 60. There's a lot of ways you could go about it, but you got to start to think through that. Now, so your assignment this weekend is to start to really memorize that, because on Tuesday you're going to have a test on it, a quiz. Now, you also have an assignment here, and your assignment is, here it is, page 416, numbers 1 through 8. And you guys, we didn't practice those today. That's using the x squared plus y squared equals 1 piece, okay? Just 8 problems practicing that, start memorizing. Now the homework's going to build from here, okay? You had a nice week. You had to get ready for a test. Otherwise, you really haven't had any homework from me, okay? You'll hand this homework in. Yeah, we'll build on that. I'll give you an assignment on top of that on Monday to go a little bit further. But start memorizing your degrees to radians.